Welcome to Anti Moonboy News. I'm your host Xenu, and yeah, we got another stacked one for you today. I have a website now, so I'm going to be showing that off. We're also going to be taking a look at a Lightning Network report on usage, and we're going to be making fun of it because it sucks. Also, I will be responding to the latest FUD regarding Monero and Ospeed. It was only a matter of time before some backlash appeared. And there's one article floating around written by some guy named Duke. Don't know the guy, but I'm going to be responding to that because, frankly, he gives some bad advice. Most notably, he doesn't even mention don't use KYC, which, you know, is if you're talking about privacy and cryptocurrency and you're not mentioning that, you don't know what you're talking about. So we're going to be getting into all that and more. But first, we are going to look at some super chats. I got 4 this week. The first one from @Violence. He donates 0.0119 XMR. And he says, if you are not gay, buy a shirt from @Violence clothing on xmrbazaar.com. Well, there you have it. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure all of my listeners are homosexual, so they are not going to buy your t-shirts. I'm sorry, @Violence. They are all, I'm kidding. I don't know their sexual orientation. But I will say that is a pretty effective tagline. So if you are not gay, you're going to want to, the servers are going to crash. There's going to just be a wave of people going to buy your shirts because they have to prove that they are not gay, and that's the only way they can do that. All right, so thank you for that donation. I got another one here from Anonymous. He donates 0.01 XMR, and he says, but did eat breakfast. I think this is a reference to that Thor Chain copy pasta. Am I right about that? If not, then whatever. But basically, there's this meme where if you ask somebody who has like an IQ below, I think 90, and if you ask them a hypothetical question, like they can't respond to that. So for example, as the copy pasta goes, if you ask them how would you feel if you did not have breakfast, they would respond, but I did have breakfast, instead of saying I would feel hungry. And that's kind of the joke. And stupid people, if you like actually think about it, yeah, in general, stupid people are very arrogant about things without understanding the meaning behind them, I guess. So yeah, I think that is probably true, even though it is from 4chan. So I don't know, maybe it isn't. No, as a funny aside, I would probably fail this question because I don't eat breakfast. I think breakfast is a meme. I just have coffee in the morning, usually. Another weird thing I do with breakfast is I'll just, like, if I do happen to eat breakfast, I'll eat whatever. Like, I think the concept of having specific foods only for breakfast is dumb. So, like, I'll have, like, a hamburger. My friends think I'm a psychopath for that. I don't know. Maybe I am. But, like, I don't know. I like starting the day off with food, though, like, always makes me feel like, I don't know, not good. But if I just have, like, a cup of black coffee, I feel A-okay. So, anyway, thanks for that donation. We got 2 more here. This one's from Renegade. He donates 0.22607044 XMR. That gets an air horn. Thank you so much for that. And he says, awesome show. Keep on rocking in the free world. Always the first channel I check for updates. Well, thank you very much. That's a very kind compliment. You know, you mentioned keep on rocking in the free world. Are you a Nardwuar fan? Because whenever I read that statement, I think of Nardwuar. For those who don't know, Nardwuar is an interviewer, and he is well regarded amongst people who are music nerds, such as myself, because he has this encyclopedia knowledge about music, and he goes into like an absurd amount of research for his interviews. What's even more interesting, though, is that he has like a character that he plays, and if the person he's interviewing doesn't know what the character is, it creates this really weird imbalance where, like, not only is this guy really weird, but also he's like very intelligent and he knows all this stuff about them, and it leads to like very interesting interactions. So if you like music, definitely check out his channel. And he has a lot of just a whole archive of interviews with some very interesting people, very eclectic too, because he interviews a lot of punk musicians, but also a lot of rappers, pop musicians as well. But anyways, at the end of each episode, he says to keep on rocking the free world and do, and he puts the mic in their face and he doesn't move until the person responds, do. If you watch an interview, you'll know what I mean, because it's the best part of each episode. So anyways, thank you very much, Renegade. That is very kind of you. And lastly, I have from TechLeaks24, please give opinion. He donates 0.122945222 XMR. That gets an air horn. Thank you very much for that. And he says, at TechLeaks24, is there any truth to this? The weakness in Monero are not rings, but single-use outputs that give behavioral significance to transaction output age, and key images that allow definitively ruling out decoys, reducing anonymity set with 100% certainty. Is there any truth to this? No, not really. TechLeaks24, he's a bad actor. He argues in bad faith. I've actually had to block him on Twitter because this guy basically, what he would do is when I would post a video for my channel on Twitter, he immediately would comment on it, linking his blog, calling Monero a scam. And it's just like, after arguing with him like 2 times where he just wouldn't respond to what I was saying to him, I just blocked him. It's just not worth my time. He's just like trying to get some clout by like, Twitter bombing me. It's not worth responding to half the time. This is a guy who sports a project called Dero, okay, which is abandoned. The lead developer, Captain Dero, has abandoned the project. It has an exploit that's existed since May 2024, and TechLeaks was called out on it. He lost money, or he lost a bet, and he was supposed to pay the bet, and he welched on it because he's a little pussy. The whole freaking thing. But where it really gets bad, though, is that he doesn't put respect on the name, okay? If you're looking at Monero and you have problems with Monero, that's completely fine. Like, we can argue, and there's a lot of argument to be had that ring signatures are not perfect. If you want an example of this, I have a 30-part series on YouTube that's free called Attack of the Poison Outputs, where I talk about how ring signatures are not perfect, okay? You can check that out on your own time, especially episodes 2 through 6. I talk about a lot of other stuff as well, but those episodes in particular are the most important to check out, where I actually give hands-on examples, showing what a poison output actually looks like. What TechLeaks does, though, is he kind of just like throws a bunch of stuff at the wall that are like half-truths or just plain wrong, okay? The statement here of key images, like he repeatedly mentions this thing called key image analysis, which he totally made up. Like, when you're looking for poison outputs, you're not looking at the key image. The key image just proves that the transaction is real. What you're looking at is a ring signature that contains a poison output. And hopefully you're looking at multiple ring signatures that contain a poison output associated with that person. This is the post-Ospead heuristic, and it's probably the most powerful way to link somebody to a transaction. But all of this is only possible with KYC. And also, he didn't discover this like he claims. Like, we've been talking about it in Monero for like a decade. So he's like making stuff up, and no, you can't reduce it to 100% certainty. It's much more complicated than that, and you need outside metadata, which is essentially exists in every single case that involves Monero. This is another thing too with bad faith people, where they say, oh, Monero, someone was caught and they were able to trace their Monero. It's like, well, and the argument then goes to this leap of that means Monero is traceable. Whereas if you actually look at the court documents of all of these cases, the person was usually already known, and then they subpoenaed, KYC exchanges, got that information, and then they worked backwards. And that's possible with literally every cryptocurrency. The metadata you leave at KYC exchanges, that is the real issue here. There is that chain analysis, or chain analysis, I guess in this case. They have a PowerPoint, but like they were also using IP addresses and that as well, in addition to the post-Ospead heuristic. They weren't looking at key images, by the way. They were looking at the co-spend heuristic, which is poison outputs and multiple ring signatures. So, yeah. I don't know what he means by behavioral significance to the age. I mean, the decoy selection algorithm is skewed so that if you immediately send Monero after receiving it, it falls under what the MAP decoder attack that Rucknium talks about. This was only found out, or at least revealed publicly recently. But I don't really like, that's the thing with this guy too, and people like him. They kind of just throw a bunch of like words out at you to confuse you, or like, I guess, mislead you. But like, they're not looking at Monero with like the respect they should be looking at it, because like Monero is actually used. All right, so that's enough talking about that guy. Thank you guys so much for the donations, as always. Let's get to some weekly stuff. So channel updates. I have a website. That's right, I have a website. It is out there, antimoonboy.com. I am really happy with how the site turned out. I told you guys it would be a minimalist kind of thing. I will say too, so I was making the website. I made it with Hugo, and I'm working locally on my computer, and I was testing it. And so I knew it looked like pretty good on the computer, but I gotta say, it looks fire on mobile. Like, I think it looks a lot better on mobile. So I'm really, really happy with how it came out. Because like, if you bookmark this, especially on mobile, it came out really, really well. So basically, yeah, I have a section for Anti Moonboy News, the pod, and Attack of the Poison Outputs as well, with an archive of all the episodes. So you can just go here and click on these links, and then just go to each episode. I probably will eventually make a post for every single episode as well. I only have 6 up right now. But that way you can also just click on like the hashtag, and then you'll have, the episode description with timestamps, in this case for Anti Moonboy News, and you can, browse that way as well. Currently, Darknet Market Maximalism there's nothing there, as well as the merch section. There will be merch coming. I'm starting to do some research on that as well. I'm hoping to drop that basically the same time as Darknet Market Maximalism. So that should be incoming. I'm going to have some t-shirts, maybe some other stuff as well. Maybe a Xenu thong. Probably not. Anyway, then I have an about. That's boring. Hidden service. So if you like Tor, you can visit this site. I made an onion for it. I do have a contact. So if you want to email me, you can email me at xenu@antimoonboy.com. And I included my PGP on here. So if you want to do that, you can encrypt the message, which would be gigabased if you do. I will be also making a matrix as well. I currently do have a matrix, but I'm going to be self-hosting this one. I've just been too lazy to do it, but I'm going to be doing it for Anti Moonboy. So keep an eye out for that. And I have an interview section as well. And of course, a donation. So I have XMR address down here. Yeah, it's pretty much it. So I'm really happy with it. It took me a while to get this done, but it's pretty much exactly what I wanted, where it's very minimalist. There is an RSS feed down here as well, so you can subscribe that way. So you don't even have to like lurk my YouTube or Twitter or whatever. You can just subscribe to the RSS feed. The links will all be on there. So yeah, I need to make a post for all the different episodes. It's not really completely necessary, but I'm going to have to do it at some point. So I'll get around to that eventually. I also need to make I need to have the Anti Moonboy News upload to podcasts. So I will be doing that as well, like podcast services. I need to do a little research on that, but once I figure that out, that should be within the next couple weeks. There will be an Attack of the Poison Outputs this week. I didn't do one last week because of, I was really working on the website the entire week. So I will have Attack of the Poison Outputs this week. I'm really going to have it set up where basically probably like 5 or 6 episodes left. And then once I finish that, I'm going to just immediately go into darknet market maximalism. And I think the idea is I'm going to drop the manifesto in text form all at once. And then I'm going to be releasing, pretty much every other day, the spoken word, I guess, album of it. So every day I'll be posting a YouTube video, and then I'm going to upload that on like my website. I may also do like a limited edition CD sale where I'm going to it's going to be totally bootlegged. I'm going to like basically buy like the cheapest like CDs and like CD cases. I'm going to like use my mom's printer to like print the album art. But there's only going to be like 100 of them or something like that. So let me know if you're interested in that. But I will have like some CDs as well to sell. And it's going to be a limited edition though. So it's going to be a hot commodity. Probably 3 people are going to buy it. 3, maybe 4. But my mom would buy one as well. Okay. So that's about that. Let's get to some stuff that's going on this week. And all right, yeah, let's get to this one. So we got to talk about the backlash. Yeah, this was inevitable, right? Once the report came out, I think a lot of people, in Monero didn't want to talk about it because, the backlash was inevitable, right? Because we're taking an L. Ring signatures, they aren't ideal, right? They're not perfect. And so when you have something like that happen, it sucks, right? Because like we can't really defend this. It's kind of like, yeah, ring signatures aren't perfect. We need full chain membership proofs. Yeah. So of course there's a lot of people jumping to conclusions now though, where they're taking this and they're saying, oh, Monero is useless. Now everyone's going to use this instead. And that's just not the case. Monero works really well still. In fact, this problem has existed now really since 2022, if not before that, right? It's probably since forever. And what have we seen? Well, what we have seen is that this type of statistical attack has not been used against Monero. There's no evidence of this ever being used in any court case. And I think a lot of that reason is because this is like probably very hard to prove in court. And I don't think it necessarily is something that can be used. It's more of like a tool that chain analysis companies can add to their toolkit. So yeah, there's this guy, he goes by the name Duke, and he put out this, his advice to Monero users from an outside perspective. And the advice he gives, it's not necessarily like bad, but it completely misses the point of what you should be doing. Because like, he talks about, oh, you should use multiple wallets, and if you want to do this, you want to do that, and he has like all these different things. And it's like, you can do that, or you can just not use KYC exchanges. And not once does he mention that. Not once does he reach the conclusion of, maybe I shouldn't be tying my personal identity to transactions, right? Because that's what's happening. When you use a KYC exchange, you are giving away all of this metadata about yourself, and you're giving away the information about your cryptocurrency usage. Now, yes, if you send Monero to yourself from a KYC exchange, it does go into somewhat of a black hole, but poison outputs are a thing. And in addition to this, we have now this MAP decoder attack, right? And in addition to that, we have things like timing analysis and the amount analysis of what you're sending. And, all of these things, and your IP address, right? And all of these things can be combined and used together to like actually, with a pretty decent probability, you can kind of track someone if they're being lazy, right? And we've seen this with CoinSwap websites where, someone, goes to a CoinSwap website and it's actually pretty easy for someone to kind of follow that. But that somebody is a chain analysis company with access to tons of data. And I think a lot of people are looking at this MAP decoder attack as something that like anybody can do. It's not that simple, right? Because sure, you can apply this probability to a transaction, but one, it's not proving anything. It's still it's 23.5% chance, right? That doesn't prove anything. So you have plausible deniability. And two, you need a poison output to begin with. So where are you going to get that poison output? And this is the problem. When you leave a KYC exchange, you're leaving with all that metadata. If you're buying your Monero from a non-KYC source, such as using Redo, Haveno Redo, if you do that, you're only giving like a limited amount of information to one other person because it's peer-to-peer. So like the argument being made by Duke here to do all this crap here, I mean, we're going to quickly go through this, but like this is all pointless. Because if you just don't use KYC, you avoid like the foot in the door that chain analysis companies are using. Right? The only way for this to, like, if you use like a non-KYC peer-to-peer exchange, the only thing is you are dealing with one other person. And so someone might say, well, that one other person might be a bad actor. I guess that is true, but like that is a much larger leap. And that requires a lot more like collusion going on, right? With a KYC exchange, you know for a fact that your data is being harvested. You know for 100% a fact, okay? When you're going peer-to-peer, I mean, you're just dealing with somebody and you're giving away way less metadata, okay? You're not giving away your IP address. You're probably not giving away your actual address. And yes, there are ways that you can tie your identity to that trade, like if you're using like a bank. If you're giving that banking information to someone else, yeah, they can log that. But like it's much, much safer than using a KYC exchange where you know it's being logged. And plus, there are ways to get Monero 100% privately in non-KYC means, especially if you're using cash, right? Cash by mail is the best example of this. And, you know, if you actually, you know, meet somebody who like lives in your area and then you can trade for Monero that way, that's another way. But anyways, this is my point. If you are talking about cryptocurrency and not bringing up the fact that KYC exchanges are the biggest problem, into the trash it goes. Just throw their opinion right into the garbage. That should be the very first thing at the very top. Don't use KYC. Because the point is moot after that. There's no foot in the door for chain analysis to even use anything with poison outputs. That's the whole point. I actually did listen. He had a podcast with Arctic Mine. It was really just Duke here interrupting Arctic Mine like every 3 seconds. He came off as a sea lion, whatever. And I did listen to it though. And they only mentioned KYC very briefly one time, and then they gloss over it. And then this guy, Duke, he keeps saying, oh, if only there was an easy way to like summarize everything. Well, I made all this advice. Your actual advice is meaningless. If you just don't use KYC, you could just use Monero regularly. You don't have to, this is the simplification, is really what I'm trying to say. What he also says, he says only give out stealth addresses. This doesn't really matter. You can use an address with a 4. Just, you know, don't reuse that address because of a Janus attack. Okay, you want to keep that just for your incoming. Okay, always make a new stealth address for different people. I mean, that's just good practice anyway. So sure, I'll give him that. Only send out funds from your outgoing wallet. So he has an incoming wallet and an outgoing wallet. Okay, and the only time you want to send funds out of your incoming is to top up funds in your outgoing. Never send funds to a third party from an incoming wallet ever. I mean, you can do that. You can have multiple wallets, one wallet for savings and one wallet for spending. If that makes it easier for you, or you have like a KYC wallet as well as a non-KYC wallet, that's probably a good way to do it. And have your KYC wallet, have that only be for savings. So then you can go back to the KYC exchange. That's totally fine. I agree with that. I agree with that. At the same time, you can just use the same wallet. For example, Feather Wallet, they have an option where you can freeze outputs. So if you receive a wallet, or if you receive a transaction in your wallet, and it's a KYC withdrawal, you can just freeze that in Feather. So I'm probably going to make a video eventually about coin control to help people. But you can do it that way. The last thing I want to say is about churning. This is kind of frustrating to talk about. I'm going to have a video this week about churning, is what I'm getting at. And with churning, I think people don't understand literally why you want to churn. And Duke here, I don't think he understands either. It's to avoid the co-spend heuristic. Okay. And maybe he does understand that, but like that's the reason. So if you like wash all of your cryptocurrency that has poison outputs into one other output, like you're in the weeds. Like I don't understand how that could be used against you, really. Like, yeah, that poison output after the churn will appear in your ring signature, but that's a 1 out of 16, right? It's all probable at this point. Or even if you go 1 out of 4.2, which is with the MAP decoder, that's still plausible deniability. And that can't be used in a court of law. So how can you attack someone with this? With KYC metadata. And this is what I'm trying to get at. Without KYC exchanges, these attacks are useless. And I think he says something during this interview with Arctic Mind. He says something along the lines of like, anyone with a computer can do this attack on somebody. And that is complete garbage. Like, okay, you can do the MAP decoder attack, but you don't have access to a huge database of all the poison outputs that went out to people. And that really is the issue. So if you limit yourself to non-KYC exchanges, which, by the way, completely legal. This is not illegal. It's peer-to-peer. It's totally legal. If you just do that, you're cutting out all of this waste. Cutting out all that crap. So anyways, that is end of the rant here. Oh, man, that went like 20 minutes. That was not supposed to be that long. Man, God, I might have to cut out the lighting. Screw it. Let's keep going here. So next up, we got the Lightning Network report. Let me pull it up. Okay. Lightning Network. So this was done by River. And it says, what's driving Bitcoin adoption in 2025? With this chart here. I don't know what this chart is supposed to represent. I guess it's saying like, this is where we are now. This is where we're going to be in the future. Well, as I'm about to show you, it wouldn't even look like this. This is misleading. It should be down here because the usage is actually going down. So anyways, I looked through the article. There's really not much to go over, except the one funny thing was the hopium lines where they're like, oh, we can trace this on a previous line. Listen, Bitcoin's getting diminishing returns. I don't know what to tell you guys. So you can look at your the lines, but it's not going to change reality. But let's get to the Lightning growth section. This is why we're here. And it says here, rising volume, fewer transactions. The Lightning Network has continued its growth despite a lower transaction count, according to our network usage estimates for the month of November 2024. This change in network usage is likely due to evolving spending behavior. Exchange deposits and withdrawals have grown, while micropayments use cases are still in their infancy. I've been hearing this line still in its infancy about Lightning Network for literally a decade now. Like, this is their go-to. Like, if you go to any article about Lightning Network, it'll be like, it's still early. It's still in its infancy. Yeah, I've been hearing that one for a while now. People don't want to use Lightning Network. Maybe you guys will figure it out eventually. I don't know. So anyways, this is the chart. This is like the most cherry-picked fucking thing. Like, this is the cope here is hilarious. So basically, we have here August 2021, August 2023, and November 2024. Why is August 2022 not here? And why is August 2024 not here? I think it's because they're cherry picking. Now, we see here August 2021, the volume was 12 million, and the number of transactions was 503,000. Now, in August 2023, we see that the volume has gone up to 78 million and transactions to 6.6 million. That's a pretty sizable increase. But then in November 2024, transactions have plummeted from 6.6 million to 2.42 million. However, the volume, that's gone up from 78 million to 286 million. If you haven't figured it out yet, the reason they're using November 2024 is because that was during the Trump pump. Right here. November 2024. What happened? Bitcoin went up a shitload. Of course the volume is going to be higher. Everyone was riding the pump. Like, right? Like, this needs to just be August in each month. And I have a feeling he chose August because in 2023 August, for whatever reason, Lightning Network was used a lot in that month. I guarantee it wasn't used as much in May or June, but that's what he cherry picked. Like, why is this so much lower at 2.42 million? Shouldn't that be a lot higher? No, what this is showing is just more people throwing their money into Bitcoin, and that's why the volume went up. And that's why transactions are so far down. People aren't using Lightning Network. So here we have this article about Lightning Network growth continues, and transaction usage is way down. The only thing that they're showing is that the volume went up because of this pump. It's completely misleading. So they have this methodology here. Now, the cope, by the way, for something like this is that the private Lightning Network nodes, we can't see those. We can't see those transactions. Technically true, but the amount of people using Lightning Network privately is few and far between. The majority of people are using these centralized applications, as is always the case. The November 2024 data set was made possible by 14 data providers, representing 79.4% of Lightning Network capacity. This kind of just shows you how centralized Lightning Network really is. Now, down here, we have this section here. Exchanges are a large driver of Lightning Network growth, which is, yet again, what we've been saying. Exchange deposits and withdrawals involve higher value transactions than other Lightning use cases such as tipping, gaming, and small purchases. With the average deposit withdrawal size over $100 because they're investing. Simple as that. Since 2023, exchange adoption has driven Lightning Network growth. Yeah, because people aren't actually using Lightning Network the correct way, which would be running your own private node. No, they're just using exchanges. And now accounts for at least 2/3 of total value routed based on our estimations. It's definitely higher than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 95%. Lightning Network architecture is evolving. And it says here, while routing efficiency has improved, centralization has increased. With the top 10 nodes by capacity now controlling 84.6% of the total network capacity. And we see the nodes here pretty much actually down relative to 2022. Channels have gone down. This is why it's so funny. They're talking about how there's all this growth, and like these numbers are not showing growth really at all. The only growth that we saw was the volume because of the pump. Completely misleading garbage. And there's no skepticism here. It's all bullish nonsense. So we're going to get to why Lightning hasn't grown faster. Well, the reason why Lightning hasn't grown faster is because nobody wants to use Lightning. Well, let's see what they say. Lightning Network adoption is largely driven by Bitcoin's usage as a medium of exchange and transaction fees on the Bitcoin blockchain. While merchant Bitcoin adoption for payments is steadily growing, the total number of locations accepting Bitcoin remains low. This is partly due to a limited willingness to use Bitcoin for transactions when more convenient alternatives are available. Or maybe people are holding because they're hoarding their Bitcoin. But I don't know. Additionally, Bitcoin transaction fees have not yet reached a level that would drive a significant shift towards Lightning Network or other scaling solutions. This is true. Like, why would I use Lightning Network when I can just use Bitcoin? And yes, I'm separating the two. Like, from my perspective, there's no reason to use Lightning. I'm just going to use Bitcoin proper. Like, I'm just going to use Bitcoin. Like, why would I go on to Lightning? It's just like a waste of time, I think. And the other issue, too, is like, if you aren't holding Bitcoin on Lightning Network, if transaction fees do go up, then you're stuck because you have to eat a large fee to even go on the Lightning Network. So this is something I've talked about a lot, but basically you're going to have liquidity providers on the second layer. If Bitcoin continues to grow, I'm doubtful of this. I actually think it's going to be a good thing, if Bitcoin's growth kind of goes down, just so we can, spend some time, focusing on actually, building on Bitcoin rather than this second layer nonsense. And what's going to help that is, the price not going up exponentially. So, and this is beautiful too, related to what we talked about last week, the near-term Lightning Network growth catalysts. And Yet again, this is the MO right now, stablecoins. It says stablecoins represent the largest demand source for blockchain-based payments in 2025. Yep. And this is what's happening. Largest stablecoin issuer Tether announced the integration of its USDT stablecoin into the Lightning Network January 2025. It's PayPal 2.0, guys. We've been saying this since like 2018. It's coming to fruition now. And now with the government's endorsement of it through the Digital Assets Banking Committee, it won't be long before this is actually going to be used. And this will actually be used. I do think this could be quite popular. Because it's no different than getting dollars, right? So I do think that, unlike Lightning, like look at the transaction volume. This is hilarious. I don't know where they're getting this data from for stablecoins, but it's fascinating to see that stablecoins are used that much. But I believe it. I've heard anecdotal stories of people who live in poorer countries, and people use stablecoins. And why? Because there's not a lot of volatility, and it's like holding dollars. So it actually makes a lot of sense. And Lightning Network only having 3.4 billion in transaction volume, yeah, I'm not surprised. People aren't really using it. In fact, that's higher than what I think it actually is, to be honest with you guys. So the first thing I want to talk about, the Monero Research Lab meeting this week was great. It was last week. Basically, it was debated about whether or not we're going to have a hard fork for Ospeed. And right now, the general consensus is no. And the reason for this is full chain membership proofs are probably coming sooner than later. It is, I actually have here, I actually saw some percentages of like estimates, and it's like a 35-ish% chance we'll have it this year, relative to like a 70% chance it'll be within the first 2 quarters next year. My thinking is end of the year is quite possible, but probably Q1 next year is, I think, the most likely. Possibly Q2. But progress has been made on it, absolutely. And so because of that, the argument is, why should we spend time hard forking? Like, they're going to waste time and resources hard forking to this Ospeed solution instead of spending time just focusing on, the full chain membership proofs. And that, honestly, that's a good argument. So like, it was funny before the meeting happened, good old Rucknium, he sent out a message in the Monero Research Lab chat, and he tagged me actually. So I'm like, oh man, I gotta go to this now. Like, it's funny too, because like, during the chat, like, I'm not gonna really say anything because like I'm kind of just lurking, reading the opinions from people who are really smart, bright programmers and researchers and all that. And there's a lot of technical discussion, and I felt like a kid holding the flashlight for his dad. That's what I felt like. I was like, I'm not freaking commenting on this. I'm just gonna read. But it was a good debate, though. It was a really good debate, and I see their point. I think, though, the one thing I will say though is, and the only reason I didn't bring this up is because like it's a touchy subject, but like having like a timeline, this is what it depends on, and you can't predict timelines. And like I know this, like talking about darknet market maximalism, right? Like it's hard for me to. I want it out in April, but like it might get delayed to May, and I always delay things. It's something I need to work on. So like asking them, when is this coming out? It's hard to do. It's something like that. It's pretty hard to do. So anyways, that is all I have on that. Moving on, we now get to a blockchain intelligence company called TRM Labs. They have a job application here for a senior staff research data scientist. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because down here we see that they are looking for experience with privacy-enhancing technologies, which they call PETS, P-E-T-S. That's a new one. But experience with these PETs, such as Monero, Zcash, coin mixing, Mimblewimble, and or full chain membership proofs. So it looks like these guys are getting prepared for the incoming rush of usage of full chain membership proofs. Now, of course, actually attacking a full chain membership proof is probably useless as far as I understand it. So this would be mostly metadata based. So I sent my application. Just kidding. I'm pretty sure I could probably apply for this job and get it, and just like show them Attack of the Poison outputs. But no, I'm not going to do that. But this is what's happening though. That people are starting to get prepared for really the incoming of full chain membership proofs, and yeah, Monero is definitely in the forefront of what they're focusing on. And to a lesser extent, Zcash, coin mixing, and Mimblewimble, but it's no surprise they mentioned Monero than full chain membership proofs down here. So this study was published about a month ago, and it is titled Eclipse Attacks on Monero's Peer-to-Peer Network. And to make a long story short, it is possible that this is related to the ongoing weird peer-to-peer issue that we've been combating with that ban list that I've talked about recently. And the malicious nodes on the network, they could be these nodes that these scientists are maintaining for this study. I don't know that for sure though, but the idea here is they compromise a node's connections, and then once they do that, they're able to reset the connections of the node and essentially surround the good nodes. It does look like this was mostly patched already through a pull request that was done. But yeah, it's still interesting nonetheless. There's some talk of this in the MRL IRC if you're interested in that sort of thing. It should also be noted too, and I didn't even know about this until this week, but there's actually a CVE out regarding Monero RPCs. Basically, there's this denial of service attack that can be done against RPCs right now. There is a somewhat of a fix, so that's why we still have RPC nodes available. They've essentially manually updated their nodes, such as Cake Wallet, for example. However, this is somewhat ongoing, and it's apparently going to be patched in the upcoming node update in 18.4, which should be out next week. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I guess this is an attack that's been kind of going under the radar. I don't think it's related to this Eclipse attack, but it's just another front that we have to fight. We've been talking about all of ring signatures the past couple weeks, but I would argue that these network attacks are actually much more effective at a way of de-anonymizing people. Because the network security is outside of the blockchain, right? It's a whole another battlefield. And, something like that is really hard to maintain, especially on the ClearNet. So really, if you're concerned at all about this, use Tor, okay? Make sure you are running a proper Tor node. I have a video about doing a Tor node on my channel. I recommend checking that out. And, feel free to ask me questions too. We just need more people running nodes on Tor. Bottom line. Fixed Float has announced that they've updated their terms of service. They say, "Dear users, due to recent events, we inform you that all funds that have direct connection to the centralized exchanger EXCH are now considered criminal. All orders paid for with funds received through this exchanger will be suspended for additional verification of source of funds and information about exchanges. We strongly recommend refraining from sending funds received through EXCH to the addresses of our service." Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, I talked about this recently, the Bybit hack. That was the largest hack in history. They used EXCH, and, well, what do you see now? Backlash. I'm not sure if Fixed Float is the only company that's come out against them, but I saw this on Twitter yesterday, and it's just par for the course. Now, I do want to give a shout out though, because evidently Thor Chain, they've gained some favor back to them because they did not shut down shop when Lazarus Group was laundering their Bitcoin. They let their service continue running. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to get talked to by federal agents and whatnot. This is the same, blueprint that we saw from Tornado Cash. They were told to stop their service. I don't even know how they could do that. And they're now dealing with legal issues. Roman is dealing with legal issues. So I don't know if Thor Chain is the next one up for that as well. But it's something definitely to keep track of, because this Bybit hack is a big deal, and we're still seeing the investigation kind of developing, and heads are going to roll for this one just because of how much money was stolen. So we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit about the past week with the strategic reserve stuff, and then I have one more topic to cover, and we'll wrap things up. All right, so last week was the week heading into the crypto summit. And I was actually wrong about this. I thought they were going to really push this week, and it ended up being a complete flop. And, they tried. Bless their hearts, they tried. There was this one image I saw on Twitter of Michael Saylor. He was on CNBC, and the tweet below that image was, I've never seen Michael Saylor so giddy before. They had convinced themselves that Michael Saylor was in on some inside information, that he knew that, there's going to be a big buy, right? And so this was the cope from the people who have been falling hook, line, and sinker for this Bitcoin strategic reserve. And what happened? Exactly what we've been saying. There is no Bitcoin strategic reserve. What they did, they've taken Bitcoin, seized through civil asset forfeiture, and they've rebranded it into a stockpile. There is no other Bitcoin they're buying. They're just taking Bitcoin they already had and renaming it. That's it. A big old nothing burger. So Trump signed this. There was a clip where he's signing it, and you could just tell he has absolutely no idea what's going on. He's just signing whatever they're putting in front of him. And the guy's like, "Yes, Mr. President, this is good for the crypto industry." And Trump's like, "Oh, yeah, that's good. I'll sign it." That's it. They have the summit the next day. And here's Trump surrounded by a lot of clowns in the industry. I'm not going to go name by name. I didn't even watch this, all right? I'm not sure if I should. I guess I could do like a live reaction to it, but I didn't watch it. I didn't. During the presentation, Trump even talks about the Bitcoin strategy of holding it, and it's just, you could tell that he has absolutely no idea what's going on. And he's like, "Oh yeah, they're got to hold that Bitcoin," kind of thing. And after that summit, I guess, the market completely shattered. And it's not just crypto, though. I mean, it's the market in general, because of these tariffs. And, we've had this ongoing inflation issue that's not going away. It's very possible we're seeing a recession, followed by the money printer shortly after. But, all these things are happening. And I mean, I just checked the market, and Bitcoin right now, it's at like 79,000, which is not good, obviously. And listen, we're getting awfully close to that liquidation of Michael Saylor. Man, if we hit that, it's going to be ugly. I think we got some time still, but it is actually quite possible we already double topped. That might have been it. 109 might have been it, which is crazy because that is, yet again, extremely low relative to what everyone thought it was going to be. When you've had 2 cycles in a row of these diminishing returns, you got to imagine the Moonboys are going to get humbled at this point, right? Are they still going to be a completely obnoxious twats? I mean, maybe. Maybe they will. Maybe the money printer will save them. But yeah, right now it's not looking good for people who are, hoping for this 7 figures, like some of these delusional idiots are saying. And I really hope there's a reaction against that type of Moonboyism, because these guys have been selling you on snake oil now for the past 8 years, right? Really since the 2016 like gigapump, like they've been selling you over and over again. And people have been disappointed now 2 straight cycles. I mean, it still could come back, but man, people, it is ugly out there right now. Across market wide for what it's worth. And Bitcoin is not detached from the market. It's very clearly married to it. So, oh, one other thing too, I need to mention before finishing up. So during that conference, you know, they talked about stablecoin dominance yet again. I think that was a direct quote. Dominance of the dollar was what it was. Yeah, the government, they're showing their hand right now. They only care about the stablecoins. So that's their strategic plan, really. It was never about Bitcoin. It was about these stablecoins. That's what they're concerned about. Another thing I saw real quick, I see the IRS has been instructed to rescind and amend all previous IRS crypto guidance. That's actually kind of a good thing. If there's one good thing to come out of this administration, hopefully it's some clarity in these cryptocurrency regulations, because there is absolutely no clarity. Okay, news is over. I have one other thing to talk about before we wrap things up, and that is a commercial I saw by NCA. And I'm going to play this for you guys. Let me get the audio set up.
You ready?
Hi guys, roll again.
It's okay to look at each other, right?
Here we go.
I learned about crypto for a body of work.
I've been focusing on crypto gaming.
I was making YouTube videos.
I wanted to work on something that's a little more purpose-driven.
Having a child is what really put us in the mindset of starting to want to invest more.
So crypto became my bridge to connect with people.
Talk to me about the blockchain. Explain blockchain.
I actually didn't know much about crypto.
And then I started really digging in, researching, and trying to figure out what is blockchain, what is crypto, how it all works.
It is simply just a record, a public ledger of value.
You can interact directly on the blockchain, exchange items of value much more easily.
Less fees, more transparency.
It is sustainable, it is equitable, and it's fast.
It's having flexibility and feeling comfort and secure, and I think crypto makes us feel that way.
Blockchain has given me a new medium.
Crypto is the future.
This technology really can be used for good.
Let's cut.
Okay. You got a thumbs up.
We're good?
You know, the reason I'm so negative about cryptocurrency culture is exactly something like this. I mean, it's just, I don't even know how to respond to a commercial like this, right? This is who we're fighting. They've taken this really incredible open source protest against the financial industry, and they've turned it into a complete mockery of what it once stood for. And the thing is, the people that they're showing in this video, I mean, obviously they're actors. I mean, you don't have a girl playing video games on the blockchain. What? You don't have like artists like talking about how the blockchain is inspiring them. Here's what you have. You have, let me pull it up here. No, not the gamer girl, not the artist, not this fucking dweeb with the mustache. This right here. You got the soy husband with his wife, the crypto holders. That's the problem. Because these people, they are completely unmarried to the idealism that we have. These people do not care about us. They hate us because we want freedom, we want liberty, and they want gains. You know, Jen and Jason, the couple that they showed, they will happily give away all their rights if it means a steady return because they want safety. I mean, you have all this other crap in this commercial about like video games and like, you know, being an artist on the blockchain, which is like, okay. You have all this stuff, right? And it's a rotten commercial because it's obviously so fake and phony, and it smells like snake oil, right? You just tell it's snake oil. And yet, this is what's lobbying our politicians. That's the reality. And this is what we're fighting against. Because they don't care about us. In fact, they want us dead or as far away from their gains as possible. Now, the good news is we can't be removed from the equation so easily, right? We're always going to be fighting back. We're going to be pushing back. But it's still a sad reality, though, that cryptocurrency has become this very sterile kind of thing that has really lost all of its meaning and purpose. And there's a lot of people who agree with this, who think that, appealing to the mainstream is the way to go. But the problem is, by appealing to these types of people, instead of protesting the financial institutions, we're being absorbed by them. And we're getting these BS propaganda commercials where people are, oh, it's on the blockchain. The blockchain it's forever on the, it's just cringe. It's all cringe BS. It's all fake. And it sucks. But anyway, the good news is we're not going away. They're going to have to deal with us, right? So that's, I guess, their problem. Not our problem. All right, guys. That's enough out of me today. Thank you again for all the support. AntiMoonboy.com. Check it out. I'm signing off now. Have a nice day. Have a great week. See you guys next time.